whatever it is, anybody, eyes, forehead, shape of any kind, wherever it is, from today, I dispossess you of that information. You will not identify me for attack. You will not identify me to bring me low. In the name of Jesus Christ. Somebody say, my Father, my Father. Call him my Father and my God. Any spirit being. Say, any spirit assigned to monitor my family members, listening to my conversations, following me wherever I go, monitoring my steps with intent and intention not to allow me enter the place of joy. This day, I come against you. Listen, did you come with Bible? Oh yeah, don't worry. Let somebody just open to that place we have been reading since July of Joy. And we have not finished the verse up until now. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 2. Anybody? Read it.
Hebrews chapter 12, verse 2. Looking unto Jesus.
Looking unto Jesus.
The author and finisher of our faith.
The author and finisher of faith.
Who for the joy that was set before him.
Who for the joy that was set before him.
Endured the cross.
Endured the...
Despising the shame.
Listen. Watch here. Said there is a difference when you read the Bible. Read the Bible like a Bible student. He is sitting down. He sat down at the right hand of the Father. Come, sir. Everybody look here. We are about to pray. The right hand side is a geographical location. This man, talking about geographical location, he is at my left hand side. But I can tell you that this man, Father, not at the right hand side. So, where I am located does not matter. What matters is my position in God. Go to my back, sir. This man may be at my back, but I can still tell you, this is my right hand man. You are going to pray a prayer. What you need is to be at God's right hand. When you are at God's right hand, let me shock you. When you are at God's right hand, you at God's right hand, when you are God's right hand man, even when you do wrong, it will not be counted. That is why be careful the people you follow. Don't do what others are doing. There are some things somebody will do. You think he will die the next minute. But there are people God does not count their sin. I will prove it to you from the Bible. God said, David is a man after my heart. What does it mean? David is my right-hand man. David was killing anyhow. His killing became so much. David was a murderer. David operated on the highest level of immorality. David arranged the death of a man and collected his wife. Gave an instruction that the man should be positioned at the war front so that he will die. He said, put him where the war is hot. The hottest place. He said, put him there. They put the man there. The man died. David took his wife. That is a high level of wickedness. High level of evil. David doesn't spare anybody. David killed and killed. That God himself described David as a man whose hands are full of blood. God said that the hands of David are full of blood, but yet God turned around to say, my covenant with David will I not break. He has done everything now, but my covenant with him, I will never break him. I will never break it. Don't report David to me. I already know him. But my love for him outweighs every sin he committed. How do you know that a man is a man after God's heart? David one day woke up and said to God, I want to build a house for you. David gathered all the materials with which to build a cathedral for God. And David said, God, I want to start. God said, don't build for me. David asked why. God said, if you build a house, I can't live in it. Thank you very much for ever remembering to build a house for me. But David, I beg you, don't build. But leave all the materials you have provided. Your son will build a house for me. But you, don't build it with your hands. If you build it with your hands, I will not live in it because your hands are full of blood. But yet, I will not do anything to you. I will not punish you for it. I will not do any harm to you. I will still protect you. I will still fight for you. I will still do everything for you. But please, don't build me a house. That is what it means to be at the right hand of God. The shocking one again is that even when David died, his son was on the throne. And his son introduced the worship of Baal and the worship of other gods. The Bible said the heart of God was broken. God became angry. And God said to Solomon, Solomon, I desire to take away the throne from your hand. But each time I look at you, I don't see you. I see your father David. And as long as I'm seeing David, I can do nothing to you. I will allow you rule. Worship any God you want to worship. Yet, God is a jealous God. But in his jealousy, there are people he does not hold accountable. And you begin to ask yourself, what is going on? Listen, it is the law of God. That is why he told us ahead of time that you should not question him. He said, I will have mercy upon whom I will have mercy. I have the prerogative rights to have mercy upon anybody I want to have mercy. I have the right not to count sin for anybody I don't want to count. You will not force me. There are people that if you are reporting them to God, you are causing trouble for yourself. For mentioning their name, God will deal with you because they are his right-hand man. And to be the right-hand man of God It's not because of what you have done. It has nothing to do with your character. It has nothing to do with your person. It's just the choice of God. He said to Solomon, I desire to take away the throne from your hands, but I will not take it away from your hands. Why? Because Solomon is the direct blood of David. So when God looks at Solomon, he sees the blood inside him, which is the blood of David. God said, no, do anything you like. Turn the children of Israel as you want. Behave anyhow you want to behave. But your own son, the son you will give birth to, when I look at him, at least I will not see David. I will see you. I will deal with him. I will collect the throne from his hand. What has the boy done? As at the time God was saying this to him, he hasn't got a son. As at the time God was saying it, he hasn't got a son. So the son didn't do anything. But God said, from your son I will collect the throne. And through to it, from his son, the day of his enthronement, that was the day it was taken away from him. It was on the day of the enthronement of the son of Solomon that the children of Israel shouted to your tents. It was on the day of his enthronement. May the crown never leave your head on the day of enthronement. The throne left the boy's head, not because of what he has done, but because of what his father has done. And yet his father who did it didn't suffer anything. Solomon is one king that never fought a war. Solomon is one king that was not questioned. Not because he is Solomon, but because God made a promise to David. The promise that God made to David, he kept in Solomon. He said to David, anything Solomon your father say. And that was why the question they should have asked Solomon, they asked Rehoboam, the son. What was the question? They called him and said, your father, he dealt with us. But while the father was dealing with them, nobody said a word. Because God will shut the mouth of your enemies when you are the right hand man of God. When you are at God's right hand, your enemies will not gainsay. That is why there are people who will talk behind you. When they see you, they will keep quiet. Hear this. When it was the turn of Rehoboam to become king, they started by asking him a question. They said, Rehoboam, all Israel, we are all gathered here. The 12 tribes of Israel, we are complete here. We have come to give you the throne. We have come to make you our king. But before we make you our king, we will ask you question. But the same people didn't ask Solomon question. And let me shock you. Most of them, the Bible said, that they were the wise men that advised David. They advised David, but they did not advise Solomon. Can I explain it to you? They advised David, but they did not advise Solomon, because in the time of Solomon, they were not permitted to talk. They were only following him. That is why there's nowhere in the Bible where it is recorded that the ancient men said this to Solomon. They didn't say a word to Solomon. Solomon was doing everything he liked. And the men were following him sheepishly. When God decides to favor a man, your action does not matter. That is why Solomon wrote some things in the Bible that is still causing theological trouble till today. It was Solomon who wrote in the Bible that out of 1,000 women, let's not go there. He wrote some things in the Bible that all of us should be very careful with. If we hold them today, there will be trouble everywhere. Solomon has 700 wives and 300 concubines. And he wrote it so in the Bible. And among the 300 concubines and the 700 wives, making it 1,000. It is not inclusive of the children he was still having outside. Provable. Solomon had a son with the queen of Sheba that brought about the division of the glory of Israel, that Sheba today must stand as a kingdom to rule. Solomon committed all of this. God saw it, but could not take away the throne from him. Why? Each time God look at him, he sees David. Why? David is a man after God's heart. God said so. God said, David is a man after my heart. Don't mind him. Anything the guy is doing, he's still a man after my heart. It was because David was a man after God's heart that from time to time men would pick stone. They will look at David, but they will drop the stone. They won't stone him. It didn't start the day you met him. Be careful when the hand of God is upon anybody. When God's hand is upon a man, be careful with that man. Any stone you throw at him will finish generation. Oh yes. Be careful. Any stone you throw at that man will finish generation. It is not going to finish his generation, it will finish your generation. That's how God operates. They picked stone to stone David. No way. Saul pursued him right inside the bush. The Bible will record that from time to time he will be very close to Saul. It got to a time, the Bible said, Saul was sleeping. David went there and cut part of his cloth. But said, I will not lay my hands upon the Lord's anointed. I'm a killer, but I won't kill this one. I'm a killer, but I will not kill this one. Why will I not kill this one? There is oil. There is oil on his head. I know my limits. I can kill any man. But I saw my Bible say, touch not my anointed and do to my prophets no harm. David said, I understand what it means. The oil of God is upon this man's head. I will not touch him. Do you know that David even regretted and pleaded for cutting his clothes? Just his clothes that David cut. David pleaded and begged. And David said, I am not qualified to even cut your cloth. But how will you know that I saw you as you were sleeping? If I didn't cut the cloth, you wouldn't know that I met you. You didn't know that I had opportunity to kill you. But I will not kill you. I'm a killer, but not you. Because you have the oil of God on your head. Even when God has left him, David said, me, I will not be the one to kill you. He knows where to stop. But the hand of God is upon him. Can I say this to you? Even after David was gone, the covenant God had with him was still in place. Let me shock you. Even in Rehoboam, the covenant was still there. Up until today, that covenant God had with David is still in operation. Up until this morning that I'm in this church with you. Can I prove it to you very quickly? Very quickly, God said to Solomon, I will take away the throne from the hand of your son. That was the exact word of God. But before this word will come, there was a word that senior this one. What was that word? God said to David, you and your sons shall be kings before me. You will sit on the throne forever. You will sit on the throne forever. Yes, God can break covenants. In the scripture, we have seen God broken covenant. But there is a vow he made over David. He said, my covenant with David will I not break. So, when God said, my covenant with David in particular, I will not break it. Why? David is at the right hand of God. I'm still showing you the right hand. So that when we want to pray, you just go straight and pray. Now, because David was at the right hand of God, God said, my covenant with David will I not break. And God didn't break the covenant. So when God said to Solomon, I will take away the throne from the hand of your son, I became apprehensive as a student of the Bible. I said, let me see. If God takes away the throne from the hand of the son of Solomon, it means his covenant with David, he has broken. Hear what God did. When it was the turn of Rehoboam, in the time of Rehoboam, after Rehoboam answered Israel, the Bible said Israel shouted to your tents, all Israel, and they all went back home, and they beckoned on a man who is called Jeroboam. When they called on Jeroboam and said to Jeroboam, come from where you are, where he was trained to be the chairman of Ndaburu. He was an Aburo chairman. They beckoned on him to come and be their king. And Jeroboam came to be their king. When Jeroboam came, see what happened. The seal of authority is in Judea. The seal of authority is in Judea. And if Jeroboam sat upon Judea, then he has become the king according to covenant. And he cannot be the king according to covenant. That is why the synagogue was not anywhere else but in the land of Judah. Because that is where the seat of Jehovah is. God decided. There are 12 tribes of Israel. I will give you 10. I will leave 2. That 2 is the scepter and the lemma of Israel. I won't give you that one. And that 2 was reserved for Rehoboam. Rehoboam sat down there and see how it operates. Jeroboam was the king of the rest 10 tribes of Israel. But when they want to worship God, they will come to Judah to worship God. When they want to make sacrifice, they will come to Judah to make sacrifice. Jeroboam woke up one day and said, no, this is risky. How can I be ruling these people? But anytime they want to worship, they will go to where this other king is ruling to go and worship. Something is wrong. God took away kingdom from Rehoboam, but didn't take away the entire kingdom. He was still sitting on the throne of Judea. And when Jeroboam thought in his heart and said, how can I be king and my people do not have a place for sacrifice? They always go to Judea to go and do their sacrifice. He said, no, I will not accept that. I will build my own tabernacle. I will build my own synagogue, so that my people can offer sacrifice here. Let them be offering sacrifice here and stop going to that man before he will turn their heart against me. And God kept him quiet. Immediately he started building that tabernacle. When he started building that synagogue, God turned around and said, look at this boy. You don't know the story. You don't know where this journey began. How dare you? Are you building a synagogue for me, or you're building for yourself? God said to him, when I look, I don't see anybody. So to finish you is not an issue, because there is no covenant between you and I. You are just on the throne. Don't rejoice.